Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this Trinity College Rome campus panel at the Sant'Anselmo Università Pontificio. I'm joined by Borden Painter, Professor Emeritus of Trinity College and former president of the college, and who's also had some experience in Rome over the years, a lot of experience, and it's been a huge supporter of the program from Hartford, and Livio Pestilli, who you all know, of course, as a person who directed the Rome program for 37 years. So I don't want to take up too much of the space of this first part of the panel, but I'd just like to ask the two of you to talk to us a bit about your experiences with the Rome campus. You know, in the last few days, all of the alumni I've spoken with here at this wonderful gathering have talked to me so fondly about the experiences they had in Rome and how impactful this experience was on their lives. And so I wanted to ask you to talk a bit about what you think what have been the keys to creating a program like this that's been so impactful and that has continued to be so over the years. We can use this microphone here, and then I can also pass this to you, Livio, if you'd like to.
Okay. Can you all hear me? Yes, you can. So good to be here with my good friend, Livio Pestilli. What's your name? Yeah, we go back a long way. I'll have more comments about that tonight. But it's been an extraordinary privilege for me to be associated with the Rome program. And one of the questions on the sheet we were given about this afternoon was, why in Rome? And the answer is simple: my campo. I remember in the late 60s, Mike and I would go out for lunch over New Britain Avenue in one of the Italian bakeries and get a piece of pizza or a sandwich. And Mike would talk about Rome. And Trinity College did not commission Mike Campo to start a program. Mike Campo started the program. It was his initiative. Mike was just very entrepreneurial. He knew Italy well, and he was determined to be in Rome. And the final thing I'll say about the location, he worked with Mr. Mouchet. We called him the mysterious Mr. Mouchet, with Lavinia Tour. And Lavinia worked mostly with the religious orders. So Mike had been all over Rome looking at all kinds of religious houses, because most of them had dormitories for pilgrims and so on. And when he got to the Aventine and saw the Camaldolese convent, like Brigham Young, he said, "This is the place." And as you know, it's just been a wonderful location. I will just say finally, just particularly for the current students, you don't know how rough it was in the 70s, kids, when it started. The rooms were more primitive. They were redone in the 80s. And the bathroom, shower, toilet, sink were all together. And you had to be sure to put the toilet paper outside and I don't want to really go into it, but the nuns didn't believe in toilet seats. For some reason, we could never figure out.
Nor did Mike.
Really? Well, anyway, we got through all that. And then I do remember being there in the summer program in the 80s when they rehabbed the dorms and much improved them. But as you saw, if you were there the other night with Suora Michaela, it's turned out to be a very happy relationship. And we've really helped the order quite a bit financially and to do all kinds of things. Anyway, Mr. Pestilli, would you like to say a few words?
Well, yes, toilet seats. I loved Mike, and we got along so well. But one day we had an argument because I was insisting we get toilet seats because students were complaining about this all the time. And he resisted. So in the end, his wife stepped in and she convinced him that we really needed toilet seats. But this is only a minor detail. Yes, it's Michael Campo's vision, his love for Italy, in many ways, even more, he would praise Italy probably even more than most Italians would. You know, as an Italian American, he had great bonds to his father's home country. And it was his desire, his will that really brought this whole operation into works. And as Borden was saying, he traveled, he went to different convents. And when he got to the Aventino, he knew that this is it. And of course, it looked somewhat medieval at the time because the columns were spiral geminated columns. Now they look Brunelleschian, the Renaissance look to it, and the rooms were improved. But it was a rough first years. The students, no internet, no iPhones. We would have to go down to Piazza San Silvestro to call our families. My wife and I, when we came, we would call our parents as well. It would be once a month for 50,000 lira in 10 minutes. So it's like $50 for 10 minutes. And we forget those things now that we have WhatsApp and all the other stuff. That we never really severed that umbilical cord. So when you went abroad and you came to Rome, you really were abroad. And you did not hear from your family usually for about a month. 2 weeks for your letter to get there and 2 weeks for the letter to get back here. So it was rough, but it's been, not only for me, and I presume for all of you who have been associated with it, a tremendous, beautiful ride. It's gone all too fast. But for those of us interested in education, there's really nothing better, as Montaigne once said, that the best form of education is traveling. What that does, as we all know here, I'm preaching to the choir, but it opens up our minds. To find out that things out there in other countries are not different, or rather, they're not better or worse, but they're different. And you learn to appreciate the way people behave in different places and find different solutions to the problems. And therefore, our young students now and in the past, and ultimately end up in very important positions in the States, it is key that they know exactly what is out there, especially nowadays where we tend to in a sense, shy away from otherness. But as far as the program itself is concerned, it was rugged, it was Spartan, and it was beautiful too, because the best thing about this program has been throughout the years that it's run like a family restaurant, a family operation, with the incredible dedication and love that people stateside that put into this program, the administration and staff, as well as our loyal and permanent staff and faculty members. We created a program that really is known as one of the better ones. Perhaps not the best, although I think so. It certainly is one of the best programs, and students know that when they come to this program, we expect them to study. Now, we know what it means to study abroad. And on weekends, you try to get away and skip the Friday classes to get to Munich for Oktoberfest or whatnot. But they do know that we care and we take our job very seriously. So as far as my own rapport with the school, as I said, right now, as a matter of fact, I think that Richard C., class of 1981, and Chris Hogan, who wrote to me last night and the night before, they said they would be watching. When Richard C. came in 1981, we were at a bus stop. I think it was bus stop for bus number 23. And he looked at me, I'd just been directing for 2 years. And he looked at me and he said, "So Livio, what are you going to do when you grow up?" And I understood exactly what he meant by it. He says, certainly you're not going to settle for director of a small program in Rome for the rest of your life. You know, what will you do later on? And I looked at him and pretty much like Peter Pan, I told him, I'm not sure I want to grow up. And it's been, as I said, a beautiful ride, fast. But I was hired by Michael Campo in spring of '78. Before coming back to Italy from the States with my wife, I wrote to all the American schools and asked if they needed an English professor. My master's at the University of Chicago in English Lit. And Michael said, well, if we don't need you for English Lit, but, you know, could you teach it? Would you teach Italian? I've been teaching this at the Italian language at St. John Fisher College in Rochester, New York. So I began one course in the spring of 78, one course in the fall of 78, then one course in the spring of 79, or rather, each semester one course was added. And then they asked me to start directing in the fall of 79, and it took a big chance on me. But things worked out quite beautifully, I think, for both the school and myself. And I am so happy and proud and fortunate to have been able to keep one foot in Italy and one in the States for all these years. I don't know if I covered that topic.
Can I say one last thing? I just want to add one little anecdote that shows you how serendipitous life can be. Mike Campo was not going to go to Trinity. He was going to go to Wesleyan, if you can imagine. His father was a very successful tailor in Hartford, and his shop burned down that summer. And that was a big blow to the family. And so Mike went up to Trinity and talked to President Ogilvy at the time, and became a Trinity student. And without that, none of this would have happened. So there, Wesleyan. Okay, you want us off? Okay, come on, let's get on.
Thank you, Livio. Borden, I think we'll see you, maybe hear from you again this evening, I hope. So I just wanted to, I didn't do this before. I'd like to welcome everyone who is joining us also via Zoom. We have, it looks like there are 100 and almost 150 people joining us. So benvenuti. So the next, this next session of the panel, we're going to speak with some alumni who've spent semesters in Rome at different periods of time. And so I would like to invite up 4 people: Catherine Van Sinkle, Suzanne Granger Tyler, Mark De Benedetto, and Annalise Welt. Is that correct? Welty, sorry. And I'll let you introduce yourselves and tell everyone when you were in Rome and talk a bit about your experience here. So.
Thank you. So my name is Susan Granger Tyler, and I was in the Rome program in, what was it, 1984. Am I looking at that camera? Anyway, and for me, should I just have us all introduce ourselves and then we can go with our experiences? Okay.
I'm Catherine Van Sickle. I was in Rome spring of 2011, actually with Annalise. We met there and are still very close friends.
As Kat mentioned, I'm Annalise Welty. I also was spring 2011.
Hi, and I'm Mark De Benedetto, and I did the summer 2011 program.
Okay. So as you can see, we have quite a diverse panel up here, and I'm happy to be here in this program. I'm so grateful that Trinity has taken the time to reschedule this program. We could have ended it after the pandemic because we thought, life was over, but Trinity being Trinity, we rebounded, and here we are 3 years later. And I'm so happy to be here. Being here has just brought up so many memories, so much excitement. When I got here in '84, there were several students that I didn't know in the program and got to know them so well. We became very close. And I think, to be honest, that's what this program is about. It takes the Trinity people out of the Hartford campus, put you in a small place, in a culture that you don't know, and all of a sudden, you're thrown in there to sink or swim. And what I got out of my Rome experience is actually some advice that I took through life, as I think Livio tried to point out. My advisor at the time was Dr. Gatzman, rest his soul. And Dr. Albert Gatzman told me that don't let your education get in the place of your education. I think I might have been the wrong person. He should have said that too. Because, sorry, Livio, I took that to go into Rome and I started meeting people. So in addition to the people I met, my fellow students, I would meet people from Italy. I would get lost in Via Aventino or Marmarata, I'd go over to Trastevere. I would meet people and they would take me home and I would have meals. And I just learned to love life. And I got to appreciate that people are great wherever you go. And I also learned from Dr. Albert Gatzman how never meet a stranger. So that also happened being in Rome. Okay, years later, I become a consultant. And with that experience in Rome, it started here, I would meet any head of states that I work with, any CEO, head of company. And as a consultant, I was able to quickly establish a relationship and get to know people and get on. It meant a lot for business. So you talk about making the link between being in Rome and being successful in business. And it all started here. And I cannot be more grateful. So thank you so much, Trinity. Thank you, Rome program. I advocate very strongly that everyone gets this kind of experience overseas. And when it's your own campus, you also have a little bit of gravitas because you know what, at the end of the day, it's your school. And that was the beauty of it for me. Thank you so much, Trinity, and thank you for this experience.
So this is my first time back to Rome since I was here, and I'm kicking myself because I'm regretting waiting for so long. And I think after this trip, I've promised myself I won't wait another 12 years to come back. But I think that for me, what I really took away was building confidence in an urban, chaotic environment. I went on to live in New York City. I've been in New York City for the last 8 years. And I think just having that sense of, I can tackle this, I can figure this out, I can problem solve, really helped me in my career as well, and taking risks. And I'm about to move to a new city, and I know that I can take that on because I've had this experience. And so it's enabled me, not only in Hartford, of being in also an urban environment, but just giving me that sense of adventure that I never want to let go as I come back here and continue. And then I went on to get a master's in strategic communications later and took a course in global communications. And I think I was really drawn to that course from experiencing the different ways that we would communicate and, you know, engage with Italians and people from all different countries. So I had that broad, big experience. But then, as we all know from Trinity, it goes back to the tiny cloistered community. I was telling my team at work that I was going to Rome for spring break, and the person across the table said, "What program did you do?" And I said, "Trinity in Rome." And she said, "I went to Colby and I did Trinity in Rome." So no matter where you go, no matter how much time passes, there's always that sense of community and connection. So.
My mother, Patricia, did the Rome program in 1977, so one of the originals. And I grew up hearing the stories of Michael Campo and all of her professors. I went to Trinity myself and knew from the beginning I was going to do the Rome program. I decided to major in classics, in ancient Greek and Latin, and didn't really know what I wanted to do with that. I knew what I didn't want to do. I didn't want to teach Greek and Latin, and I just enjoyed it and was passionate about it, but didn't have a clear direction. And when I studied in Rome, I participated in the internship program and selected Biblioteca Angelica off Piazza Navona. It was life-changing in every sense of the word. Francesco helped me learn how to take the bus and do my commute, and Elena helped guide through the whole process. And I worked at this library speaking Italian, learning about the amazing manuscripts and early printed books in the collections. They have the first book ever printed in Italy. And I expected it to be an American experience, that I would go and run errands and make copies and go get coffee. And instead, it was the opposite. It was, let's go get a coffee together and talk about what we did today. And what are you interested in learning more about? What items can we pull to show you? And then we'll go from there and you can learn about it and pick your project. I had never experienced anything like that before. And I thought at the end of the semester, what can I do to do this as my job? This is what I want to keep doing forever. So my senior year of Trinity, I applied to grad schools and I looked at job listings that were similar to this type of work. I got a dual degree master's, one in art history and one in library science. Who knew that was a thing? And I work as an art librarian now, and I've done rare book school courses working with manuscripts, handling, conservation. And I'm so thrilled, and I owe it all to Trinity. Even returning to the Hartford campus, taking a history of the book class with Jonathan Ellikin cemented everything. So this relationship between Rome and Hartford, and it all comes back to Trinity, really special for me. It's also where Kat and I became friends. We didn't know each other the same year. I don't think we had spoken a single time until we met each other in Rome, and are now very good friends. So we owe Rome quite a bit. We do. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marth Benedetto. I know we already introduced ourselves, but just a reminder. And my story is very similar to all of yours in the experiences that I had. We just took on so much, and you go to a new city and you learn how to have that experience. And now I feel so confident crossing the street in Boston, Massachusetts, as compared to Rome. But I got a little extra because, Livio and Francesca were leading our entire group on a big walking tour of Rome on our first day. Everybody's jet lagged, and we feel like we've been walking forever. And I got lost, separated from the group with a girl. And she's right up there. And then I married her 11 years later. So it was very, very special. And it's taken on a massive part of our lives. Obviously, there were 3 people in addition to my wife that were at our wedding from the program. One of those people officiated our wedding. And then another person is my sister-in-law, married to my brother. So it's been gigantic. You never know what can happen. I also was only here for 6 weeks, as opposed to a full semester. So, you can pack so much in such a short amount of time. And we were talking about it like last week or whatever, that I get emotional. No, that you think about that time, it was only 6 weeks, and for you guys, 1 semester, but it felt like 2 years or something. So I'll stop talking now, but that's fine.
Thank you so much, panelists and fellow panelists. Thank you, other Rome guests. And thank you, program directors and coordinators, for bringing us back here and giving us the experience. And, I need to also mention that Livio giving me a job here this summer after my spring program. Not only did I do the spring program, but I got to work here that summer because Livio and Dr. Campo colluded and decided, let's pay her to stay. And I needed that so badly, and made, again, all the difference. I was leading an elder hostel speaking Italian at the time. So this program is beyond amazing. I was going to move everything to come here. So thank you.
When I hear all of you talk, this is something that I already feel, but I'm so very proud to be a part of a project like this. It's not something that's been built by people over the years, and that I'm now a part of, but I'm extremely proud to be a part of this. When you hear stories like this, you realize the impact the program's having. And we hope to continue the work that everyone's done over the years. So I'd like to hear now from, or invite up 4 current Rome campus students. As many of you know, we have students both from Trinity and from sending institutions. We often have as much as 40% sending institutions on the program. Today, we've invited 2 students who are not from Trinity College, but are here on the Trinity College Rome campus program this semester. Darius in Italia, and Darius in the States, I guess, who's a student at Princeton, and Caroline, who's a student at Mount Holyoke, and then Giulietta and Henry, who are from Trinity. And I've asked them to just tell you a little bit about how their semesters are going so far, and what have been some of the highlights, or if you're noticing the impact of the program, let's say, on your life so far.
My name is Julietta Natito. I'm a public policy and law major at Trinity College and a junior studying here now. I think for me, what stood out the most is the faculty and the people who I've met here, as well as people who I've met in Rome. But I think what some of the alumni have highlighted is just how fantastic the program itself is. I think everybody comes in to study abroad wanting something slightly different, and the people who work here have just made that possible for everyone, in the sense that everyone is really able to get exactly what they want out of it. I have really wanted to meet people in Italy and immerse myself as much as possible. And one of my favorite things has been my internship seminar and my internship that I've done here. I've actually been able to work at a gelateria kind of as my internship, but sort of as like an actual employee there. And I've learned so much from that that I've really enjoyed. So I just want to thank the program and all of the people who have just made the experience so special for me and everyone else who's here.
Hi, my name is Caroline. I go to Mount Holyoke. I'm a junior. I'm studying political science and history. My sort of association with Trinity, my dad and my grandfather both went to Trinity, as well as my uncle. And I was looking at Trinity when I was looking at schools, but I figured Mount Holyoke might be a better place for me just at that time. But I really wanted to associate with Trinity in some way, and my dad regretted every day not going to the Rome program. So I was like, well, I might as well do it for you. You can live vicariously through me. He was actually here last week and he was just in awe, but sort of like Gigi, I am doing an internship here. I work at a restaurant that's family owned, family run, and I speak only Italian there because that's what they speak. But I work at restaurants in the U.S. and it's just definitely such a rewarding experience to sort of immerse myself in something familiar, kind of like being at a school with all Trinity students, but also in something that's a little bit different and sort of broad. But like Gigi said, all the faculty members, my professors have been so amazing. I love walking around the city, getting to see things. I see my professors over there. We take walking tours for class. We learn about the layers of the city, learn about all the great art. It's just been really cool and a experience that I'm never going to forget. So thank you. And then Darius can't take the mic, so I'm going to give it to Henry.
Hi, I'm Darius. I am a junior at Princeton. I'm studying history, and I heard a woo somewhere. Good to know I'm not the first. I'm studying history and classics, and I applied here. I wasn't sure like what I wanted to do for abroad, but I thought, oh, history, like the Eternal City is a place to do history, and I like classics. So I think that it was totally the right move. And sort of when I was looking around for programs, I was, I wasn't sure what this Trinity program was, like at some college in Connecticut, or, what is this, I haven't heard of it. They're small, they got 50 people. So I sort of reached out and like figured it out. And it turned out to be totally the right decision because I'm Jewish and I follow strict orthodoxy. So I keep kosher and Shabbat. And when I was trying to figure out where to go, I needed a place that fit my requirements. And so I reached out to Stephen, and I got the most warm reception. They said they would be so accommodating. And I was just thrilled that this was a place that had the flexibility, and not just flexibility. They were eager to take me. They really wanted me to like be a full participant in the experience. And so far it's been 100%. They've been like proactive on getting me involved and making sure I can be a participant in things. That's why I'm not taking the mic. I can't speak into a microphone today. But yeah, and beyond that, just being in the city, I was inspired just by our first week when we went to the town of Spoleto. Looking at the tour they took us on, it inspired me for my thesis, what I'm going to write about. just looking at the monuments. And so that's sort of the experience that we're all here for, is to become ennobled by our surroundings.
Hello, my name is Henry Gear. I'm a junior at Trinity and an urban studies major. I've had an absolutely amazing time being in Rome so far. The first day we had a tour that I thought would never end because I'm not a big walker at home, but I can confidently say now that a 30-minute walk is nothing to me. I have learned some Italian. I'm confident that I can order a glass of red wine and a pizza. And I've really enjoyed my walking tours with my professors and going to Milan as well. That was a big highlight for me. One of my main highlights, actually, I've never been to a professional soccer game. I went to the AS Roma game. And it was certainly interesting sitting next to the away stands. In America, they don't separate it with fiberglass, but I understood why, as they were throwing beers and all sorts of things over at us. But I found it was very interesting. The second the game ended, all that stopped and people were passing scarves back and forth. And it was all friendly after that. And I've just had a great time here, and the food, much better. I don't want to go home. And I can confidently say that I'm looking forward to coming back for the 100-year anniversary. And hopefully I see some of you there.
Okay. Thank you so much to all of you for participating and sharing all the experiences you've had so far. We have a little bit of time before we move on to the last part of the presentation, which will be, well, you've started the present part, so we'll continue with that. But we'll talk a little bit about the future of the program. And we have a wonderful video, a film that we had made over the last few weeks that includes also many of you. But I was thinking it could be nice to ask some of the audience if you have questions for our current students about their experience so far, any alumni or faculty, staff, others who'd like to ask them something, if you don't mind.
Hi, I'm Linda Di Benedetto, and mother to Mark Di Benedetto and 4 other Di Benedetto sons, and now 2 daughter-in-laws. Thank you to this program. But Bordy Painter talked about his big surprise being no toilet seats. I would like to know what your big surprise is. Does anyone have anything that they didn't expect?
The driving here. I got in a cab. Well, Gigi and I arrived at the airport a little bit later than everybody else. So we were in the car together. First time I had met her, we're sitting there, and our Uber driver just like floored it down this street. And I was like, I looked over at her. I was like, man, this guy is a terrible driver. And he was swerving all over the place. But it's definitely interesting in the U.S., like especially where I live on the Cape, and there's, see, there they go. But you know, there's crosswalks and people will stop and then let you pass. But here they just keep right going. You have to pay attention, but it's definitely taught me to be very alert of everything that I'm doing, making sure that I'm paying attention always, and, you know, looking up, seeing not only the cars, but the surroundings, the beautiful surroundings of the city for sure.
I think also to even just add on to that, not only as a driver, but as a pedestrian too, I think we all learned in the first kind of week of being here, being given tours by other faculty, like Francesco, for example, led a lot of tours. And we noticed that as we would approach a busy road, he would immediately walk out like this, just put his hand out and just stop the traffic. And they do stop. Yeah. So now we've learned to do that. And I'll also add that the toilet seat thing is actually, it's still a thing. There are seats in the individual bathrooms in people's rooms in the convent, but the public bathrooms in the convent still don't have seats. And you'll find the same thing in a lot of restaurants too.
Yeah, every restaurant bathroom trip is an adventure. You never know where the button's gonna be.
I guess on the cultural note, the dining culture is a little way different. We discovered that our first week when we sit down for a nice weekend lunch, and we're thinking, okay, 45 minutes, an hour, 3 hours later, we're like, All right. It's dinner time. So there was that. Also, something I discovered my first few weeks, I went to a cafe on the Aventine. I was like, okay, I'm going to bring a book. I'm going to study a little bit, have a cappuccino. And I found out that they don't like that very much. At least they didn't like me doing it. So they decided that I had to order more food or I had to get out. And so they sort of, ranted to me in Italian, and I sort of got the gist. And I'm like, okay, I think I'll pay now and head out. So, a little different from a Starbucks where you can just walk in and not get anything.
Guess I'll continue on with the restaurants. I went to dinner last night, a late dinner, I would say, very late in the U.S. at 10:30. And there was a line of 40 people waiting to get in. And I had to wait for 45 minutes to be sat. And there were people showing up when I was leaving at 11:30. That would never happen at home. And I can continue on with the driving as well. I've been in several cabs where a biker will hit the side of our cab and they don't seem to mind. It seems like it happens all the time.
Okay, great. Does anyone else have a question for our current students?
So thanks very much. I was really struck by what a young friend from Princeton said about this place ennobling us, or ennobling people who are here. And I was just wondering if you had an anecdote or a comment about that. How has this place ennobled you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think a lot of credit is owed to my professors, especially my City of Rome professor. And we recently went on a weekend trip to Ravenna, which is not a city I would have gone to otherwise, I don't think. And just learning about cultural, aspects of art history and church history that fills in like a complete gap in my knowledge and understanding of the world. And just walking around the city, learning to picture where things used to be in relation to each other, and the fragments that remain, placing them in bigger context. I think a lot of these things are transferable. I mean, to elaborate on just like the thing in my thesis, it was a church. I don't know what period, but the tour guide pointed out that one of the bricks in the facade was an Etruscan brick. And that got me thinking, like, Etruscan bricks in like this medieval church, what's that about? And so that got me like, got the ball rolling about what role does Etruria play in like Roman history in general. And so that's what I'm writing about now. And so I think that, and also just being in a city where every day we step out of the convent and there's the Palatine Hill, the residence of the emperors for, hundreds of years. That's really special, and there's no other way you can get that.
It kind of makes me think, at least, like, you can't know every single thing about every single thing, but you can always keep learning. And that's one thing that my grandfather has always told me, is like, you can always keep learning. And like that desire and sort of drive to learn is all over the city. And I wake up every day and I'm like, I learn a new thing. And that's the coolest thing.
Grazie, ragazzi. One of a program alum has a quick question.
Just wanted to know how easy it is for you to make friends with local Italian of your age or age range.
They don't always necessarily want to talk to us. But when they do, it's actually fairly easy. And we see them a lot out in Trastevere, at bars or restaurants, at something like that. They're always willing to talk to us. Their English is not as good, but the ones who can speak English are very easy to talk to and very nice, and give good recommendations for places to go out or places to see.
I'll add too that we have a partnership with an Italian university. And it's part of our Italian requirement, actually, that we spend a certain amount of time with these university partners. We call them UPs for short. But I think all of us have found ourselves scheduling lots of time with them just to hang out. And it's nice that that's not really organized by the school, because we're able to find other things that they want to do. We can text back and forth with them and then choose to meet up for dinner or a drink or shopping. And they've shown us, or at least me and some of my other friends too, parts of the city that I wouldn't have otherwise seen. And I've learned a lot from them and what it's like for them to live here on their own as well. So that's something I've really enjoyed. And they've been so warm and receptive to us as well.
We're gonna have to take you all on the road and promote the program next year after you get back. I'd like to invite up our Dean of Faculty and Vice President for Academic Affairs, Sonia Cardenas. We'll say a few words.
Thank you so much. That was incredible, wasn't it? That was an incredible group of panelists, and it's just wonderful to be here. This is my first visit to the campus, and I have learned so much in just a few days, and so much of what the panelists said already resonates. So thank you, or grazie, I should say. I would like to acknowledge, I'm just going to be very brief because we know we have a schedule to keep, we have a wonderful video to show, but I want to acknowledge the faculty and staff here on this campus who are absolutely, we heard the stories and the testimony that that's what makes this experience truly remarkable. So just a moment to really, and also if you could raise your hand and identify yourself if you're a faculty or staff member in Rome. Thank you so much. I want to just give a few comments that point to the future. We're here celebrating the past 50 years, but it seems appropriate that we want to, as someone said, and one of the students said, we want to look forward to the next 50. And so in order to do that, we want to be intentional about that. So we have had about a dozen faculty from Hartford that we've brought over. And on Thursday when we came, we had a really special conversation between the Hartford faculty and the Rome faculty. And we hadn't really done that before. And many of the Hartford faculty had never been here. Some had, but some had not. And so we talked about, what might the future look like? Because we are so fortunate to have really, as we all know, really strong foundations on which to build, right? We are so fortunate. And as we think about the next 50 years, we want to make sure that we continue to be strong. So we thought of a few principles. We didn't articulate it this way, but we talked about a few principles that might guide us. One is further integration, integrating of the Hartford faculty and the Rome faculty. So I would say that as special as our Rome faculty are, we haven't always done the best job in Hartford of really feeling like we're one and the same faculty. So we want to really think about how can we have, greater flows back and forth of have Rome faculty visit Hartford, have more faculty from Hartford visiting Rome. So we want to think about how do we truly integrate the faculty. We also are thinking of integration in terms of the curriculum. Some of you know that we have this fairly new Trinity Plus curriculum. It's all about combining the power of the liberal arts with experiential and applied learning opportunities. That's already happening here in Rome, as you heard from some of the stories. But how do we create more intentional pathways? This is, to use Stephen's word, something that he's working on, intentional pathways between the curriculum in Hartford and the opportunities here. So we're really looking to strengthen that. Integration is the first principle. The second is distinctiveness. There are many things that have made this experience distinctive, but going forward, what can we be known for? This is a gem. This is such a special program. It's an asset for the college. How are we going to be distinctive? What are we going to be known for? Well, if we have a campus in Rome, we probably should be known for having one of the very top Italian studies programs in the country. We should be known for that. And we can only do that if we're really integrated with the faculty here. We can't do it alone, right? We also want to think about new areas entirely. We have a group here of amazing faculty of women in science. Could we create something distinctive in that? Maybe, maybe not, but we want to think about it. We want to push ourselves. The arts, always strong, of course, but what else can we do in terms of the arts? Urban studies, a signature program for Trinity. We're a liberal arts college in a city. Oh, actually in 2 cities. How can we really strengthen our urban studies? We have a new master's program in urban planning. Could we really develop that program and make that program distinctive by doing special things here in Rome? What about, we see a lot of what's happening here, intergenerational conversations happening, right? Could we have more lifelong learning offerings? Can we think of this campus as a place where lifelong learning happens? Chatting over lunch, over dinners, many of the alums who are here think absolutely yes. Could this be a place where our alums come to for short trips to learn and continue learning? Learn some Italian, learn some art history, be inspired, be challenged. Can that happen, right? We have a new Center for Entrepreneurship. Could we be doing something here as well? We don't have to do all of these things, but I'm just listing them as notional examples of the conversations that we've been having about what might be possible. So those are some of the, how do we become distinctive and known for something so that we can be sustainable into the future? One area that I think is very popular, and I truly would love to see us develop, is in food and culture. There are many, many reasons to do that. It's Rome, of course, but we also have such strengths, from Danny Meyer, obviously, who's been so inspiring on this campus, but to many alums who are connected to food and culture and our faculty on both sides who teach courses. Could some of those lifelong learning offerings be about food and culture? So again, how do we become more distinctive, building on the strong foundations that we have? And the third principle is accessibility, access. We want the experience that has been described here so eloquently to be something that every single Trinity student can access, and alums for that matter, right? And some of you know that this is a priority in our campaign right now, is to provide that curriculum that I referenced that has all of those experiential opportunities. Well, one big category of experiential learning is obviously global study, immersive global study. So we want to make sure that as we think about using the campus perhaps year round, we have a January term. Should we always be having a January term course here, for example? Yes, probably. In the summer, do we now continue the successful model that Stephen has created of summer institutes and make them specialized, right? But have every single student who wants to have those opportunities have the means to have those opportunities. That's consistent with our values and really, really important. It's been in our strategic plan all along, a focus on really transformative global education, and it's a priority in the campaign. So those are some of the animating principles that kind of structured our brainstorming conversation about the future. And it's promising. I think it's very, very promising. I'll leave you with that. We want to have that really, I invite you to have a conversation with us, to think, to brainstorm with us about how you think we might better integrate, how we might become more distinctive and more accessible. And of course, since we're talking about an academic program, I always like to reference our mission, which is of preparing bold, independent thinkers to lead transformative lives. And what better way to be inspired, to be challenged, to learn, than to come to a beautiful campus like this and have such a transformative experience. So I will leave you with that. I think Stephen has a film, and thank you so very much.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the Office of the Dean for having taken advantage of this opportunity, which is an occasion to celebrate 53 years of an incredible program, but it was also an opportunity to bring over lots of colleagues from Hartford and to allow us to interact with people that we know have gotten to know better over Zoom as of late. Strangely, COVID accelerated our proximity. in our conversations with the home campus. And it's been wonderful to have everyone here. I feel like we've built the base for many conversations to come in the future. We have prepared a video. We didn't prepare it, but some professional video makers were on campus for the past couple of weeks to help us put together some materials to share with you that sort of just to give you an idea of what happens on the Rome campus these days, some different projects that we have going, and to talk a bit about the history of the program also. So, of course, in the short video, it's impossible to narrate the entire history of the program or to include everyone and everything that's happening now on campus, but we've tried our best. So we'll wrap up with this video, but then we will see everyone this evening at Palazzo Colonna for the gala. This is the report from 1970 summer program, the Trinity College Rome campus, submitted by Michael Campo. Toilet and shower facilities were still being constructed, and there was no water. Our campus hosted its first group of students in 1970. The program was started by Michael Campo, who was a professor of Italian studies at Trinity College, a very adventurous professor. He brought over 100 students the first summer. He had around 80 staying here at the Foresteria, which belongs to the Camaldolese nuns, and where we still have our campus today.
Prendo un'eredità da parte delle monache che mi hanno preceduta. Sono cambiate tante cose dai primi anni fino ad oggi, però c'è un continuum che è quello di partecipare a un progetto, perché il Trinity, da quello che ho capito dall'inizio, ha avuto un progetto di inculturazione dei ragazzi, di far conoscere ai ragazzi un diverso modo di vivere. Insieme a loro un po' la comunità è uscita da questa chiusura che c'era con la clausura precedentemente al concilio, e ancora oggi noi stiamo un pochino al passo con loro.
È veramente un'esperienza meravigliosa e posso vivere come un cittadino romano. È molto divertente di avere la capacità di camminare un po' nel quartiere e anche al campus all'Aventino.
It's a really unique location. You have this protected, quiet area where students can hang out and study. Students wander off the hill, and in a couple of minutes they're down in the neighborhood of Testaccio, where there's a real local feel, a market.
It's quite tempting to work for because of its location. Here on the Aventine Hill, surrounded by the ruins of the Imperial Palace on the Palatine Hill, the Circus Maximus, the early Christian churches. They're all buildings, ruins that are up my alley because I am, after all, an archaeologist.
He's very accomplished. We go around Rome and look at the historical sites and try and piece together the history of the urban landscape. He keeps us on our toes, physically and metaphorically.
Courses we offer at the Rome campus are meant to be something that's integrated into the academic experience that students are having on the home campus. So maybe they come here, continue studying things they've been studying.
We introduced visual word politics at Trinity last year, and it makes perfect sense to offer this course. We live in a visual era. Images play an important role in our everyday life, but visual, so they are used by political actors at all levels.
Art and Activism is a new and experimental course that I designed especially for Trinity College students. And this is a course that is based on this idea of actually creating connections with the city of Rome, putting students in touch with the local community. Community, I would say, is the key word for this course. Of course, we work a lot with different socially and politically engaged practices. And one of the most important things for me is that it is not only a course in which I talk and I tell them different things, but it's actually a course in which they get in touch with the local reality and they actually maybe feel a little bit like local.
It has been clearly a thrilling experience because it changes all the time while I'm still teaching the same topic, but the world is changing and I'm teaching how the world impacts on the city of Rome. So there's always something new to learn and then to teach.
Rome is an incredible city because of its richness of monuments and works of art. Especially enjoy rediscovering my city with my students.
Teaching Italian, for me, it could be a good tool to make students understand that there is a door that has to be open in order to be out of their comfort zone.
What we offer to the students of our conservation course in Rome is to finally detect the materials on the place. We are in such a beautiful atmosphere of the Paleochristian Basilica of Santa Sabina. They have to recognize materials distinguishing between marble and gypsum in order to understand what is original and what is consequences of the reconstruction of the 20th century.
It's a very exciting experience because we share with students a tactile experience with the restoration work. They will understand what are the very important things that they must keep in their mind.
This is for them the only chance to touch and to have the direct contact with the objects that are original.
We would like also to introduce particular sites like L'Aquila, where recently there was an earthquake, so the students can see how to be familiar also in this very particular situation.
What I expect from my students, again, that they look at the world as a world in movement, in transformation. What we have today will never be the same as what we will have in 100 or in 200 years. And if things are changing, one has to adapt to change.
I must go back with my memory to the 70s when I started to work for Trinity, and it was a total different way of approaching students and teaching. I have a very nice memory.
I began working with Trinity College in the spring of 1978. I was hired first to teach Italian courses. By the fall of '79, they asked me to direct the program as well. It's been one fast ride, and a beautiful ride, I might say.
So when I think of that period, to me it was one of the best periods of my life.
Next year, or a couple of years, I will celebrate my golden anniversary as a teacher of Trinity, and I'm very proud and very happy with that.
Directing was a challenge, but at the same time a great pleasure, because at that time when I began working I was 28, 29 years old.
It was an amazing opportunity to step into an international environment, to meet the students. I could have continual cultural exchange with them.
La cosa che è più bella è proprio conoscere, capire come nella diversità poi alla fine siamo tanto uguali.
La mia esperienza è molto positiva.
I highly recommend. I think we even talked to like our friends that come over.
Mi chiamo Luca e sono di New Jersey.
Mi chiamo Zoe.
I've been living with them for about maybe nearly 2 months actually. It's been going great for now.
Think of the Italia Living project, which we have
just launched this semester and which opens a new horizon for the future.
It gives the students the opportunity to live off campus in an apartment with local students.
They really have a chance to dive into the local lifestyle, to have a taste of it and have a good time.
Qui è un'esperienza molto buona. Io e Gianluca, che lui sia un nuovo amico.
I definitely made the right decision. I really like living in the apartment. I really like living with Ben and Luca and Anita and having kind of like a more independent space.
It's just the fact there's just little cultural differences that are very noticeable while living with them, which is nice, and I hope that we'll switch off flights in the U.S. as well, because it's important. But
I feel like I've been learning a lot from my classmates through their experiences of being immigrants and their migration process. I've learned a lot through them.
Our course is called Reading Dante with Refugees, Understanding Migration, Citizenship and Belonging Through the Arts. And it's really good.
I do an internship at the elementary school. I love the internship. I like the idea that you're actually giving back.
It's a great opportunity for the students to have an immersive experience while they are in Rome. They get to explore the city, they work with locals, they learn more about Italian working environments, and they also improve their language skills.
One of the aspects of my job that I like the most is my interaction with the student through the organization of extracurricular activities. We take them out to a professional soccer game, an opera performance, or organize trips outside of Rome to places that most likely, not necessarily they will get a chance to visit.
It's definitely exciting. It's something new. I've never been here before, not even Italy. So it's, I definitely like to go and see new things. I recommend.
It's truly amazing what we've created in 53 years. We have a very special program. Who knows where we'll be in another 53 years? It's really exciting to think about.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us on Zoom. What an amazing group. There's so many people, probably a lot of alumni. And thank you everyone for coming in person. And we'll continue the celebrations later this evening. So, grazie e a più tardi.